it's just Krista. Thank you for joining me on a very brief and incomplete history of the pot plant. A history, if you will. Now, they believe that pot was first cultivated back in 500 BC, somewhere in Central Asia. It's been found in different parts of that area, Palestine, the Balkans, Siberia. So they do think that it was traded amongst the people there, the tribal people there. They found it buried with shamans. It does follow the trade route of that time period where it would start in Central Asia and then things would just spread out to the Far East and then over to Europe, down to Africa. It was used as a medicine, as a religious practice, but it was also used as cloth and rope and paper and a food source. This has been part of the hemp plant, the cannabis plant's history for its whole life. Herodotus did state that he noticed Islam men smoking a flower that seemed to make them high. And they do believe that this was the cannabis plant. It was 1830 when a Sir William Brooke O'Shaughnessy, a doctor, was working in India and trying to treat the cholera patients. He discovered that you could extract certain things from the cannabis plant and give it to patients, and it helped relieve their nausea. It helped to relieve the stomach pain. And so Dr. O'Shaughnessy bottled this and sold it in his pharmacy, and it soon became, by the 1800s, the late 1800s, it was popular all across Europe and into the U.S. Now back to our little pot plant's travels. So it's made its way into Africa, and now the colonizers have brought it with them over to the U.S. It's being cultivated in the U.S. Now we're using it as a medicine. It's later on that scientists find out that it's actually THC that makes this a medicine, but the THC also has a mind-altering effect. Something that Native people understood a lot longer, the Islam religion understood a lot longer. Because Islam, the Quran, does not forbid specifically marijuana use. It followed Islam people all throughout Central Asia, down into Africa, and came with the slaves, with the colonizers. So the colonizers came over and wanted the hemp plant cultivated for its cloth and its rope and the ability to make paper. It was incredibly fast growing and easy to cultivate, easy to grow, cheap to grow. And so they wanted it to be grown here in the U.S. and all throughout Central and South America as well. And the southern U.S., farmers were required to grow hemp on their land. It was a government requirement in the 1600s for them to grow hemp plants on their farmland. Now, somewhere in the early 1900s, migrant workers are coming up from Mexico and they're going into California and other parts of the southern U.S., and they're introducing people to, and that something was no doubt something that was taught to them by the African workers who came to work along beside them. That was that you could get high. It was a recreational drug, and reefer madness broke out. And much like any of these panics and madnesses that break out, it is not the users, the people that are taking the heat and the blame that are the problem. It's the people that are whipped themselves up into a frenzy and a panic over the users that are the problem. Like the satanic panic of the 90s, the reefer madness panic was visceral and real and quick, and had quick impact and effect on the culture of the U.S. It was now seen as a danger, a gateway drug. It was going to lead youth and pollute their mind into debauchery. Now remember, THC is something that doctors discovered and were selling over the counter, selling as a medicine at the time, and they did know that it was mind-altering. And hemp was something that colonizers Europeans brought with them to the Americas and had indigenous people, and by indigenous people I do include the Mexicans, the native Mexicans at the time, had them cultivating and growing it. And it is now those very same people that reefer madness is attacking. With the 1937 and the Marijuana Tax Act, it's now illegal for citizens to grow. And then the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 made it illegal across the board. This paranoia climaxed in the war on drugs, and the war on drugs has destroyed so many U.S. citizens' lives. With this criminalization, property was able to be seized. Thousands of people have been imprisoned. The U.S. has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the prison population. We can thank the war on drugs for this. The numbers sound very impressive on the nightly news when they go over how much was seized. What's not understood by most people is that these things are seized, the property is seized from ordinary citizens, and that is why these laws were put in place to begin with, so that marginalized people could be taken advantage of in this way and just thrown away into the system. With more and more states legalizing marijuana and the federal government seeming to be pushing towards that area too, hopefully the day is coming really quick where we're not going to see just average ordinary citizens wasting away in prison and having all of their property and land taken from them. I am behind the push to legalize, not because I think everyone should light up, although if that's what you want to do, you do that. But it's because of what it can do for the environment. Much like bamboo, hemp is so very versatile and useful, and it's easy to grow, it's cheap to grow, it's easy to cultivate. Tell me what you think down in the comments. Thanks for watching.